down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
What's going on, Savvy Investors? Beep, beep. This is your friend, Steve VanCauwenbergh, out there in the real estate investment world, not just real estate, just deals in general, business, entrepreneur, life, commercial, and of course, single family. So this is a unusual, bizarre closing, random the other day. And so I'm going to just run through this deal, maybe get inspired through this. It's actually very interesting and unique to me, but I will, set the tone here of kind of paint the picture of what it is and then how it unfolded. So, and I didn't realize when did I actually acquire this asset, but I did sell it at a certain time and it just closed. So it's kind of interesting. Anyway, hold on one second. Let me breathe here. Man, I was listening to my own podcast, which I never do the other day, and I was like, heavy breathing. And I'm like, what? Man, I know I put on some weight, but dang, heavy breathing, just doing a podcast. But sometimes I pace during this process to get the blood flowing. So you might need to pace. You might be running right now because we're about to get the blood flowing. So this is unusual. One day I randomly got a call, hey, we need your payoff for this property. And I'm like, who are you? And it's not under contract, and we are not selling it. So I'll give you the gist. Basically, it's a property I sold on a contract for deed. I'll get into the details here in a minute. Sold it to this family. This family sold it to somebody else, and all of a sudden they made money, and it's just crazy. And I think I'm going to share this story with you, this deal, however you want to label it. It's fascinating how aggressive, crazy people are buying assets, and I want to document this one because in 3 to 5, 10 years from now, we're going to go back and we're going to look at this and we're going to like, that's impossible or not impossible, or I don't know what we're going to say, but this is the skill of an investor. You got to keep track. I mean, like I've been studying trading just for fun, stock trading. And real stock day traders, they track everything like just crazy stupid with spreadsheets. And, I was like, I've always been doing that in real estate for a long time. I watch markets, I watch industries, I watch emerging markets, certain neighborhoods, I get dialed in on where I farm, always looking at data. But this is very interesting, and I definitely wanted to document, and that's why I'm doing this podcast today. It's just so 10 years from now, 20 years from now, even if I'm passing this on to, a mentorship to somebody, hey, you need to listen to this because this is crazy. So let me break this down to you. So this is a drama house. This is a house on the east side of Oklahoma City. Some people don't like the east side. I've been down there since 1999, so that gives you kind of perspective. But, my mentality back then, not on this acquisition, but back in 1999, that's all I could think I could afford. You buy a house for $15,000, $20,000, $25,000. I can come up with $2,000, $200 a month. It's funny because my mind thinks $2,000 a month. I mean, that's the transactions I'm looking at right now. What is my basis on this other transaction I'm in the middle of? But anyway, $200 a month, no big deal. It's so funny. 20 years later, $200 a month, was a stretch in my mind. If I have to cover the payment, can I cover the payment? What hustle can I do? How can I take a side job? I wanted to be in real estate so bad that I just thought that way. Okay, I got 200. If something happens, if the tenant moves out, I got to pay 200. It's hysterical because 20 years later, I'm thinking that right now. All right, I'm buying this. The payment is $2,000 a month. Can I cover that? It's crazy how much you can grow and how far you can move if you just stay focused and just work the game every day. That's the key here, folks. People want to be wealthy. It's the game. It's 20 years of compounding hustle every day. Every day. I don't take a day off in my mind. Now, I don't go to the office today. Let's say it's Saturday, but I'm working on something like right now, like the cone of learning. I'm teaching you this transaction. I am learning. I am actually working. I'm growing. I'm ingraining it in my mind, reminding myself that $200 a month is old. $2,000 a month is what you're trying to strive for today, VanCauwenbergh. See, As much as I give, I receive. So you need to do the same. As much as you give, you receive. Teach somebody. There's somebody that needs you. There's somebody on Facebook crying for, it may be the simplest question on the planet, but they need you. They're reaching out to you. Respond to them. Connect with them and help them. All right. So I think this house, it says I sold it in 2019 on Contract for Deed, but I think I bought it about 4 years before that, and before the market got all excited, right? It was in the hood, and I bought it for like $24,000. I know it sounds great. 2-bedroom, 1 bath with an add-on on the back. And this is when I had a great crew at the time, and I was just gobbling stuff up, and we would just rehab a house a month. Anyway, I had this father and son duo, bang, bang. They were off the chain. They were killing it for me. And I remember this house very specifically, it drove me bananas where I was on the job site and they tore down, this new crew tore down the add-on in the back. Yeah, it was janky. Yeah, it was falling down. But I wanted to be in this house because I knew it was in the hood. I knew it was gangster. I had so many problems from Jump Street on this property. Hey, I don't want to put any more money. But one day I drove over there and they tore off the whole side. And I mean, you can get mad, and I didn't get mad, but I was like, fix it, put it back up. So actually I put another $6,000 in it. Really, I know it's crazy. So back then it was cheap labor, cheap materials. I think I put about $6,000 in it. All in on my numbers on my side, $31,000 in this house. 2-bedroom, 1 bath. And I'm not sure if it had central heating there. Okay. Now, it was a nightmare. Constantly getting broken into. I mean, I actually moved a tenant in, and then they moved out like a week later. Like I'm not, and they didn't even want their deposit back. They're like, we're out. It was on a very rough street, and it was constantly a headache in my mind. I would get a tenant in there for like 6 months. I actually had a tenant in there for a whole year, and he was like a police officer in training, which was, I don't know what in the world. Maybe he was thinking he was a missionary or something, trying to save the world. But I had like one stretch of maybe 18 months to 12 months that I didn't have any headaches. But it felt like all the time this property was on my desk all the time. And it really it was nerve-wracking. And, you know, my mentality, and I'm saying this is about 7 years ago. And so my mentality is like, man, did I make a bad decision? I bought it right. And you always buy right. You buy right to make money. So I was like, now, you know, a lot of mentors and investors are going to owner finance and contract for deed. And so, you know, around this time, this is around 2019. So this is about 2 years ago. This house came up for rent, and boom, I automatically did a contract for deed. And that's kind of my philosophy right now. Any house that comes up in the hood, I'm like, I'm selling it. If it needs a lot of work, I'm dumping it. Obviously, reasons are because the market is hot. Okay. And you need to trade up. And that's another, you know, transition. So it was $550 a month that I was getting on this asset. So if you run the numbers and you're a rookie, hey, $31,000, you're making $550, probably cash flowing about $200 a month, roughly. Yep, that's it. That's kind of a double, maybe a triple in your world. You know, $25,000 investment should yield $550. Okay. There's this rule called the 2% rule. You know, we can cover that some other time. So my team at that time was like, yo, we're going to CFD this thing, contract for deed, $45,000. Okay, so listen to these numbers. I bought it for 24, have 6 in it, 31. I contracted for deed for $45,000 at 10% interest. Now that sounds kind of high in some worlds, but this family, which is really interesting, they put down $3,000. And they paid $578 a month. So in my mind, back then when I was doing CFDs, I was like, I need to cover what the basic rent would be. Now, of course, in this area, with the appreciation and craziness of the market, Oklahoma City, I would assume this house is worth $650 a month, $650 a month probably. But again, it's in the hood and you might get shot, so that's why it's $100 cheaper. So this family thought, hey, I can own an asset, $3,000 down. Listen to this, $3,000 down. And what I'm about to tell you this whole story is that you can do what the positive everybody won on this one. A lot of people think that CFDs, contract for deed, is only for the investor. And sometimes if you talk to an attorney that I have, he's anti CFDs because you're taking all the risk, VanCauwenbergh, and there's a lot of nuances into it. And so hopefully my accountant will jump on here and tell you the tax implications of CFDs. A lot of people don't know if you do it right. But, hey, this was a giant headache for me. This was a blessing for somebody else. And at the end of the story here, it was super successful. And that's the goal. So I was stressed. I was relieved. 2019, I sold it. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, 2021, someone just randomly sends me, what's the payoff? And, I get this on my desk. I'm like, okay, give them the number. And I believe it was like 36,000. So however that works out, the math. But it was like their number was 36,000. So this random title company says, come up here and sign this deed and we'll get you a check. And I was like, whoa. Who are you? And what? And this is like way confusion. Like no documentation. I sold this on a contract for deed. And I'm like, what's going on here? And so then they're like, well, what's your payoff? And I'm like, 36,000 is what they owe. They have the documents. It says it very clearly. Come sign. And I was like, oh no, I'm not going to come up and sign some deed unless you give me a HUD, a check, something. So then I gave him blowback. I'm like, where's the HUD? Like, who are you and who's doing that? My first inclination was, oh, this nice family, hey, they just want to pay it off. They got refinanced. They got money. I'm like, hey, I'll take it. I'll take your money, no doubt. No. Then they're like, okay, and then I was like, then they found after they finally did a title search after they contacted me. So that tells you right there, there's something wrong with this title company that you can just start saying all this stuff and then they come and find a mortgage. Yes, I have a mortgage on it. And if you're a creative real estate investor, this is called a wraparound mortgage. Yeah, how you do? And the reason why I'm not saying the actual asset address is because maybe that bank may or may not know that I'm doing a wraparound mortgage on their money. And we can talk about wraparound mortgages on another time. Text me if you want me to talk about wraparound mortgages. I love them. I use them a lot. I even do them out of IRAs for other people's IRAs. It's kind of crazy, but wraparound mortgages is a great tool to use in creative financing for real estate. Basically, real quick in a nutshell, I have a loan on it. I only had a $12,000 loan on it, and then I sold it to those people for $45,000. So it looks like I had this property for 7 years or so. So I bought it for 20 something with the loan. Been paying that loan down about 10,000. So or 13,000, got to the balance of 12,000. I wrap around it to this family. This family paid it or paying my mortgage down for me, aka wrap around. And here we are with a balance of $36,000 to them, $12,000 to the first mortgage. So I was like, then they're asking me to come sign for this deed. And I was like, hey, I need you to, then they were going to write me the whole check for $36,000. I'm like, this is getting really weird. I'm like, no, you can't write me the check directly for I don't want to pay tax on $36,000, but one, you need to pay the $12,000 first and then pay me the difference. And I actually have emails documenting this because again, I don't know what's going on here. I'm assuming that the seller, the family that I sold it to, and everything's all gravy. Well, after I do some digging, and then I finally get this, not even a HUD, it's like a payout sheet from this title company. And this title company, is not a title company I work with. It's a title company a lot of people use a lot, these wholesalers use. And so I'm thinking, okay, I recognize the title company name. I recognize that, this individual probably works with a lot of wholesalers. Is there a wholesaler? Again, no one's called me. No one's told me anything. Just what's your payoff? I'm like, okay, I'm going to get paid because I'm not going to sign a deed until I get paid. I mean, that's just how it is. So anyway, they're like, hey, your check's ready. I'm like, can you email me something? So they send me this little payoff and I saw another name on this little document. Well, apparently this family sold this same property for $58,000. Now, Okay, I bought this thing for 7 years ago or so, maybe less, 5 years probably, between 5 and 7. I should have wrote that date down. I apologize. These folks bought it at 10% interest at $45,000. Hey, I sound like a rock star investor in my mind. And then those folks sold it in this crazy market at 58. So Contract for Deed can work for you as a buyer. How cool is that? So I was like, wow. Okay, congrats. They were amped up. They wanted their $13,000. Do the math. $45,000 they've been paying down. They sold it for $15,000. They're walking away with a $13,000 plus check. Good for you. And I got my $24,000 check. Good for me. I made money the whole time. I rented the thing. Oh, no, not all the whole time. I would say it was probably rented 80% of the time. Remember, it was a dramatic property in my mind. So I wouldn't say I made money the whole time. But I was really nervous, and I got my check, and I was like, man, I rolled out, and I was like, bang, bang. And then I just started, checking the county assessor to make sure that this is out of my name. And I don't know if you know this, but when something's still in your name in the county assessor, and there's tends to be some kind of fines for not cutting your grass, or there's code issues or permit issues, you are still responsible. And this actually happened to me. I had a lawyer up one time. Maybe I should tell that story. I had a lawyer up one time where I sold a property on Contract for Deed, and the dude just would not be compliant, and we got a ton of tickets, and I'm like up to like a couple thousand. I'm like, bro. And then he would never, it was a dramatic situation, and then all of a sudden I was getting summons to go to court, and I had a bench warrant out for my arrest for real over some violations of some grass that wasn't cut on a property that I actually sold like 5 years ago, but I did not get it out of my name. Contract for Deed, just so you know. But sometimes Contract for Deed can work out really good. So anyway, so the moral of the story is Contract for Deed can work. So it's a win-win for me, win-win. And actually, after about 10 days on the county assessor, it got out of my name, and that's how I did the research. That's how I went back. And actually, I found out this investor is from California, and he's overbuying all these properties. And I thought he was going to buy the whole block. No, he's buying them all random. But $58,000 is a joke to him. But listen, ladies and gents, if you're in Oklahoma City or if you're in California, you should take advice in this one. You're telling me that you're buying a house that the county assessor, Zillow, okay, now Zillow's on crack, but we know in this market, this house, 2-bedroom in the hood, the county assessor said that the tax on this thing is 30. Okay, 30, that's the baseline kind of. Now, of course, the county assessor's slow because it's a big machine and it takes some time to spoon up of what the current values are, with MLS and so on and so forth, but double within a short amount of time. Within 2019, what is that, year and a half, 2 years, it went from, I sold it for 45, and that was at top of the market at my mind, at 10% interest. It had ballooned past that. Watch out, ladies and gents. Watch out where you're doing. But hey, continue to buy assets. Continue to buy deals. There's deals everywhere. Don't moan and complain. And you want to be creative. If you're tired of the headache at that time, that's where I was, then you sell it for Contract for Deed. Make sure your accountant knows how to do it. Make sure they know how to do it right. And you never know. You may get a paycheck at that day. So it's been a win for me. It was a headache back in the day. Was it worth the sacrifice? Absolutely. Did I make $200 a month most of the time for that 5 to 7 years? Absolutely. Did I get a $24,000 paycheck at the end of the day? Absolutely. Did I pay taxes on it? Absolutely. Has it been worth it? Absolutely. Did I have any of my own money in the game? No. I didn't. When I bought that property initially, I bought it at 70% ARV. And I think the appraisal came in at that time around 40-something thousand over what the county assessor says it is. So this is a powerful game. You can get stung. There could have been a lot more worse. It could have been positive. Not more positive. I think this is the best positive that it could be. Anyway, hopefully this helped you. I'm all over the place on this, but Contract for Deed kind of scenario. If you have any questions, hit your boy up. Let me know. You can find me on Facebook or go to savvyinvestors.com. That's SAVVYINVESTOR.com. Love to hear from you. Any questions? How could I help you? Let me know. Bang, bang. Go buy assets.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at savvyradioshow.com. Connect on Twitter at LandlordBook and always be buying assets.